Thank you very much for your attention.
Good morning and welcome to the sixth conference on the use of space technology for water management, hosted by the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Worship on behalf of the government of Costa Rica, and co-sponsored by the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize of Water. It is my pleasure to welcome national and international participants here in the room, as well as those who follow from the different parts of the world through the virtual platforms. Costa Rica is proud to have been selected to host one of the conference series on the use of space technology for water management that started in 2008, and is part of the UNOSA Space for Water project, which aims to raise awareness and expand the use of space technologies and space-based data for better application in hydrology, water resources management, and ecosystem preservation, and to exchange and co-develop solutions for the pressing water challenge from the world. To begin with the high-level opening, we are going to see an institutional video from the IICA.
IICA, the future for agriculture in the Americas, an instrument for sustainable development for peace. What do you see when you look at the Americas? You see fields, mountains, rivers. You see land, water, and air, fauna and flora, biodiversity, life. And if we zoom in even closer, you see a hemisphere with a vibrant rural region, home to 16 million people who tend and care for this land. These are the family farmers, agricultural entrepreneurs, subsistence farmers, vulnerable groups, and others who provide a sense of belonging and identify to rural life. These are the custodians of today's and tomorrow's agri-food system, nutrition, and environment, based in the Americas, but impacting the world. Welcome to the Americas, the present and future of agriculture. The challenging international context, with its threats and opportunities, has made agriculture a top priority on the global agenda, as it must continue to produce abundant, healthy, safe, nutritious, and readily accessible food in harmony with nature. This situation highlights three aspects of life on the planet that are now in the hands of agriculture: food and nutrition security, energy security, environmental sustainability. It also means that we must tackle the climate crisis with the increasingly frequent extreme climate events that are causing unforeseen challenges for food production and life in our ecosystems. Today, agriculture has assumed a key role in countries' sustainable development strategies. This is based on a renewed systemic vision that links production, trade, and consumption, encouraging the rational and responsible use of renewable resources, promoting the circular economy, and adopting a One Health approach. Given its close ties to climate change mitigation and adaptation, agriculture is part of the solution. The Americas and the role of agriculture. The Americas accounts for more than 25% of global food production. 1 in every 3 tons of food traded internationally comes from this region. This, in short, is a heterogeneous, mega-diverse region with many areas that unite it. But it must overcome a contradiction: its capacity to generate food surpluses, in contrast with its unsustainable levels of poverty and food insecurity. To address this reality, we must push for a new generation of policies that promote sustainable development, social inclusion, and resilience, harnessing science, technology, and innovation to create deep and long-lasting changes. Greater rural connectivity and digital literacy are also essential if we are to make the shift towards a knowledge-intensive agriculture sector that ensures inclusion for young people, women, and vulnerable groups. The role of ICA, renewed cooperation. This new rurality must also lay the foundation for sustainable production intensification and climate-smart agriculture that builds bridges between the rural and urban sectors. An innovative hemispheric cooperation system, harnessing digital technologies while strengthening real-time decision-making and responding to countries' needs through a network of offices across the hemisphere, is key to achieving these objectives. ICA, along with its partners, is building a new strategy based on South-South cooperation, aiming to generate shared public goods based on three strategic dimensions. 1. The Americas, looking outward to the world, extending bridges and connecting to other countries. 2. Building consensus for collective action to tackle agriculture's new responsibilities and climate change. 3. An ICA of open doors that builds strategic partnerships with member countries, the private sector, academia, and civil society organizations. We must support the transformation of the agriculture sector that will revitalize rural areas. It is time for a new hemispheric partnership. It is time for a renewed agriculture sector that is part of the solution and a sustainable development instrument for peace. Now is the time to ask once again, what do you see when you look at the Americas?
And now, allow me to give the word to Mr. Manuel Otero, General Director of the Inter-American Institute of Cooperation on Agriculture.
Thank you very much, and good morning, all of you. First of all, I would like to recognize to Minister of Foreign Affairs ad interim and friend of AICA, Alejandro Solano. Thank you for coming. Also, Mr. Driss El Harani, Senior Advisor, United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOSA. Welcome, sir. Dear friend Allegra Baiocchi, Resident Coordinator of the United Nations in Costa Rica. And last but not least, David Halahel, representative of the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water. We welcome all of you. First of all, I would like to emphasize that the ICA is a technical cooperation organization committed with agriculture and rural development of the Americas. We were born in 1942. We are older than OIS, older than FAO, so ICA is a resilient organization. We have survived many crises, but we are alive and ready to keep on supporting our counterparts, mainly represented by the agriculture ministries in the Americas. Some indicators. Based upon our portfolio of 300 initiatives, we are reaching 10 million farmers. We are an open door institution, and we are receiving this year 15,000 visitors, most of them students, because we have to believe in a new generation, because what is at stake is a knowledge-intensive agriculture. So ICA is transforming, trying to become a technological hub, and trying also to promote incentives in young people that have to believe that there is a future related in agriculture. I'm very concerned every time a farmer is becoming a consumer, hidden in a huge city. It is considered that a mega city that is a city of 10 million inhabitants has to receive 6,000 tons of food per day. So we need farmers in the rural areas. We need to link science and innovation, and this is why I am so excited this meeting today, because we need to create a new future for agriculture. respecting the situation of the farmers in the rural areas. Based upon statistics, for example, in United States, the farmers receive just 14% of the final price. It's not fair. They should have to receive more price in order to adopt technology. This is why we defend the situation of transforming agriculture. Obviously, there are some contradictions because by one side, we have to think in 2050 that we will have 10 billion inhabitants and we will have to increase 60% in the food production. But at the same time, we have to be more careful, more cautious in the use of inputs, and especially in the case of water. We have to recognize that agriculture is using probably 70% of the total water available, and the efficiency is very low. So we have to work in the area of precision agriculture, but with farmers, and believing that agriculture is part of the solution. So I'm very happy today because I want to recognize the importance of this international conference. I want to thank once again to UNOSA and also PSI, PW, with the support of ICA. We strongly believe in the future of agriculture linked to science. And having said that, let me recognize the work that Jonathan Castro, the coordinator of Fab Lab, is doing. Jonathan is the leader of a group of very young people, and he has all my support, and he's doing a fantastic job, and I want to thank. Last but not least, the ICA has a platform of water and agriculture. We're working with the CLAC and other allies. So once again, I am very happy and eager to know what's going to happen the day after of this seminar. We need to strengthen networks. We need to create awareness about the role of new technologies related to water. ICA is a friendly institution ready to strengthen ties and to build up new strategic alliances. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. We will now give the floor to Dr. Dries El Hadani, Senior Advisor of the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, UNOSA.
Thank you. Excellencies, esteemed delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's with great enthusiasm that I welcome you all to the United Nations Costa Rica Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water 6th Conference on the Use of Space Technology for Water Management. I am also delighted to extend a warm greeting from Archie Hulamaini, Director of the UNOSA, who attaches particular importance to this conference and was keen to be present, but unfortunately, she was prevented by commitments that require her to be present in Vienna. I would like to express my profound gratitude to the government of Costa Rica for their generous hospitality and pivotal role in hosting this significant conference. Their commitment to sustainable development and proactive engagement and dedication to addressing global challenges. I also extend special thanks to the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, whose invaluable support and expertise have been instrumental in the organization and the success of this conference. Their ongoing efforts to improve agricultural practices through innovation highlights this critical intersection of agriculture and water management. We are equally grateful to the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water for their co-sponsorship and continued support in advancing water science and technology globally. Their contribution is vital in amplifying the impact of our collaborative efforts to address water scarcity and enhance sustainable water use practices worldwide. Furthermore, I wish to thank all the experts and speakers participating in this conference. Your willingness to share your experience and knowledge enriches our discussion and contributes immensely to the depth and breadth of the program. The insights provided by such a diverse group of leading professionals fuel our collective pursuit of innovative solutions to water resource management challenges, particularly in developing countries. Your expertise not only inform our understanding, but also drives the global community toward practical and sustainable outcomes. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we gather today for the sixth conference on the use of space technology for water management, it's imperative to reflect on the critical global water crisis that confronts us and the multifaceted challenges that arise in managing water resources, particularly in developing countries. Today, we are at a critical juncture. Water, our most precious resource, is under unprecedented pressure from factors such as population growth, urbanization, and climate change. These processes exacerbate water scarcity, affect water quality, and threaten sustainable development worldwide. Today, over 2 billion people live in countries experiencing high stress water, and about 4 billion people experience severe water scarcity during at least 1 month of the year. Globally, agriculture consumes 70% of freshwater resources, with projections indicating that agriculture output must increase by 70% by 2050 to meet the demands of a growing population. This pressing need places immense pressure on freshwater resources, making sustainable management more critical than ever. In developing countries, the challenge is particularly acute. Limited infrastructure and inadequate technological capabilities and insufficient policy frameworks compound the natural scarcity and irregular distribution of water resources. These regions often face a dual challenge: the need to develop water resources sustainably to support growing population and economies, and the need to manage the environmental impacts that come with development. The impact of water crisis in these areas is profound, affecting health, food security, energy production, and economic stability. Women and children bear the heaviest burden of spending hours daily collecting water, which is time not spent in school or on economic activities. Ladies and gentlemen, water is the lifeline of ecosystems, economies, and communities. Its management is critical not only for survival, but for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 6, which aims to ensure clean water and sanitation for all. The importance of water extends into SDG 11, Sustainable Cities, SDG 12, Responsible Consumptions, and SDG 15, Life and Land. Water is also directly linked to SDG 1, No Poverty, SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and SDG 3, Global Health and Well-being, illustrating its all-encompassing role in fostering sustainable development. This conference is especially significant as we gather here in a beautiful Costa Rica, a country known for its dedication to sustainability, to discuss, deliberate, and share innovations and strategies that leverage space technology in water management. Space technologies such as satellite imaging and remote sensing, satellite communications, and global navigation satellite system, GNSS, provide us with critical data that is indispensable for monitoring hydrological cycle, assessing water quality, and predicting droughts and floods. These tools allow for more precise, informed, and timely decision-making to manage water resources more effectively. Our focus in this conference is not to discuss these challenges, but to drive actionable solutions through international cooperation and technological innovation. We aim to build capacities in developing countries, empowering them with the tools and the knowledge to implement effective water resource management strategies that are informed by accurate, timely data from space technologies. By enhancing access to space-based technologies, developing robust policy frameworks, and fostering global and regional partnership, we can help mitigate the impact of the global water crisis and ensure that sustainable water management practices are in place to support the socioeconomic development for vulnerable regions. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the sixth conference on the use of space technology for water management marks a significant continuation of a series that began in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in April 2008. It follows successful events in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Rabat, Morocco, Islamabad, Pakistan, and Accra in Ghana. These conferences have steadily built a global platform for exchanging knowledge and fostering capacity in using space-based technologies and data for water management. Organized jointly by the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs and the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water, this conference series has been instrumental in promoting the application of space technology in water management, particularly for the developing countries. The objective of our conference today are aiming to significantly enhance the integration and the utility of space technologies and data. A key focus will be on hydrology, water resources management, and ecosystem preservation, especially within the critical context of the water-food nexus. The conference will strive to broaden awareness and applications of these essential technologies, ensuring they play a pivotal role in sustainable development. To facilitate a robust exchange of knowledge, the conference is bringing together government authorities, technical experts, academia, the private sector, and civil society. Throughout a series of technical presentations, panel discussions, and networking opportunities, attendees will share information and experiences that showcase how space technologies applications have informed and improved policy and decision-making across various sectors. Additionally, the technical sessions will highlight space-related activities, services, and cooperation programs that benefit a wide range of users groups, including governmental officials, diplomatic community, UN and international agencies, and NGOs. Further, we hope that this conference will contribute to building regional capacities in Latin America and the Caribbean, addressing specific local needs and fostering tailored solutions. Finally, the conference will serve as a platform to report findings and updates to the UN Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space through its scientific and technical subcommittee. This will ensure that the insights and advancements gained are integrated into global policy discussions and directives, supporting broader international cooperation and development goals. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs plays a pivotal role in promoting international cooperation to leverage space technologies and support of achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Our mandate extends to enhancing global understanding of these technologies and facilitating their integration into a wide array of socioeconomic development strategies, particularly in developing countries where the needs and impacts are most profound. UNOSA is deeply committed to building capacity in these nations, enabling them to harness the benefits of space technologies. Through extensive training programs, collaborative projects, and direct support, we strive to empower these countries to utilize advanced technologies for environmental monitoring, disaster risk reduction, resource management, and more. This capacity building effort is crucial for helping nations develop sustainable practices that align with their development goals and improve their resilience to environmental challenges. Aligned with our new leadership vision outlined for 2030, UNOSA is dedicated to achieve 5 strategic objectives that reinforce our role and enhance our effectiveness in the global stage. Space sustainability, we are committed to ensure the long-term sustainability of outer space activities. This involves promoting safe and sustainable operations in space to prevent debris generation and to ensure the continuity of space applications for future generations. Second, space for climate action, recognizing that 26 of the 54 essential climate variables can only be measured from space. UNOSA actively supports global efforts to utilize space data for climate action initiatives, helping countries monitor and address climate impacts effectively. Third, space for SDGs. Our office enhances the integration of space technologies to advance global progress on the SDGs by improving access to space-derived data and fostering technological capacities. We empower countries to tackle environment development challenges through informed decision-making. Fourth, focus on developing countries and Africa. We place a significant importance on ensuring that developing countries, particularly in Africa, can access, utilize, and benefit from space technologies. This includes tailored capacity building programs that enhance local expertise and infrastructures. And last but not least, engagement with stakeholders. UNOSA strives to strengthen collaboration with broad range of stakeholders, including international organizations, private sector, academia, and civil society. These partnerships enrich our initiatives and expand our reach, driving innovation and resource mobilization. These objectives are not just aspirational, they are actionable commitments that guide our daily effort to strategic planning. As we proceed with this conference, let us keep these objectives in mind, recognizing the profound impact that space technology can have on water resource management and our broader environmental and humanitarian goals. By working together, leveraging the tools and data provided by space technologies, and building capacities across all sectors, we are not only addressing the pressing challenges of today, but also paving the way for a sustainable future and prosperity of future generations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, together through our shared commitment and collaborative spirit, we are forging a pathway that will lead to more effective and sustainable water resource management across the globe. Thank you once again to all our distinguished hosts, sponsors, and contributors for making this conference a cornerstone for the future advancement in the field. I look forward to remarkable achievements that will undoubtedly emerge from our collective efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. El Hadani. To continue with this high-level opening, allow me to introduce Mr. Abdulmalek Al-Sheikh, Director of the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water, who will be sharing his opening remarks on a video statement.
Thank you, esteemed delegates. It is an honor to be here with you today to represent the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water on behalf of its General Secretary, Dr. Abdulmalek Al-Sheikh. Welcome to this conference that explores the possibilities for using space technology for effective water resources management. I wish to thank the government of Costa Rica for co-organizing the 6th session of this vitally important conference that was inaugurated back in 2006 as a joint venture of UNOSA and the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water. UNOSA and the prize have co-organized this conference over the years with the governments of Saudi Arabia, Argentina, Morocco, Pakistan, Ghana, and now Costa Rica. The prize has a deep and long-standing relationship with the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs going back to 2006. In addition to the conference, UNUSA and PSIPW have other major joint projects, including the Space4Water portal, which enables all stakeholders involved in the space and water communities to access data and knowledge and work together. Actually, the portal has its origins at resolutions made during the first session of this very conference. The Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water, PSIPW, is a nonprofit NGO that supports research and awards scientific innovation in water resources related fields. The prize was established in 2002 by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz, who realized that innovative scientific solutions were needed if we were to avoid a global water crisis. This vision is shared by his son and PSIPW President, His Royal Highness Prince Khalid bin Sultan. The prize offers a suite of 5 prizes, awarding cutting-edge innovation in water research. First, there is a Creativity Prize, dedicated to interdisciplinary research that provides novel solutions to water-related problems. Then, there are 4 specialized prizes in surface water, groundwater, alternative water resources, and water management and protection that cover the entire water resources landscape. Over the years, many leading scientists have been awarded our prizes for work that uses space technology for water resource applications. In 2006, Abdul Qadir Larabi of Morocco won our groundwater prize for using GIS to characterize seawater intrusion in coastal aquifers. In 2008, Wolfgang Kinzelbach of ETH Zurich won the groundwater prize for using remote sensing for groundwater modeling and exploration, especially in underdeveloped or remote areas. In 2010, Ignacio Rodriguez Iturbe of Princeton University and Andrea Rinaldo of the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology won the Interdisciplinary Creativity Prize for developing the new science of ecohydrology, which bridges the gap between the physical sciences and life sciences with the employment of remote sensing and GIS. Also in 2010, Marek Zreda of the University of Arizona and Darren Desilets of Sandia National Laboratory also won the Creativity Prize for inventing the cosmic ray neutron probe, a technology which measures soil moisture content and snowpack thickness over an area of tens of hectares. Surush Surushian of the University of California, Irvine, won the 2010 Water Management and Protection Prize for using artificial neural networks and infrared satellite data to provide accurate estimates of global precipitation. In 2012, Kevin Trenberth of the National Center for Atmospheric Research in the United States won the Surface Water Prize for determining how climate change affects the world's fresh water supply. In 2014, a team led by Christine Larson of the University of Colorado won the Creativity Prize for developing a technique that uses GPS instruments already installed throughout the world to measure soil moisture, snowpack thickness, and vegetation content at no additional cost. The Creativity Prize was also awarded in 2014 to the team of Eric Wood and Justin Sheffield of Princeton University for developing a state-of-the-art system for accurately monitoring, modeling, and forecasting drought on regional, continental, and global scales. Then in 2016, the Creativity Prize was awarded to Rita Caldwell of the University of Maryland and Shafiq al-Islam of Tufts University for using chlorophyll information from satellite data to successfully predict cholera outbreaks up to 6 months in advance. The 2022 Surface Water Prize was awarded to Dennis Baldocci of UC Berkeley for using satellite data to evaluate evaporation, evapotranspiration, and water use efficiency. Also in 2022, the Water Management and Protection Prize was awarded to Matthew McCabe of KAUST for using CubeSat constellations in the sustainable management and security of linked water food systems. Finally, I wish to announce that nominations for the prize's 12th award are now open. I invite everyone with water-related work to nominate for the prize. For all of our prizes, we particularly welcome work that employs innovation and groundbreaking space technology applications to the study and management of water resources. Thank you very much.
Now, please join me in welcoming Ms. Alegra Bayoki, Resident Coordinator of the United Nations in Costa Rica.
Gracias. Good morning, everyone, esteemed guests, colleagues, experts. I think as we heard, the interconnected world we live in, coupled with our pursuit of sustainable development goals, makes space technology a powerful tool. It holds immense potential to address the numerous challenges we face. And water, we all know, is the lifeblood of our planet, essential for survival, economic development, food security, and a healthy environment. And as we adapt to climate change and face growing water demands due to urbanization, industrialization, and changing consumption patterns, equitable water management becomes a critical hurdle for global progress. From our colleagues, we heard some of the global figures. And as UN resident coordinator here in Costa Rica, I wanted to bring it down to our context, where all these challenges are very real. This morning, most of us woke up to the news that Costa Rica will face electricity rationing because of the low levels of water. And in recent months, many communities in Costa Rica, around here in San Jose, have actually faced water rationing because of poor quality of water. Drinking water coverage has dropped from 95.7% to 89% between 2021 and 2022. Water quality has declined. There's a high use of pesticides, where the agriculture sector is actively looking for alternatives. And a sector representing 4% of GDP, like agriculture, and employing 10% of the workforce, is today threatened by its dependence on water and intensifying droughts. As we heard from previous speakers, this gathering is a valuable opportunity to explore how space-based innovation can be used to address these very specific and very real water needs. And I want to thank my colleagues at UN OSA, Outer Space Affairs, the Space4Water Project, the PSIPW, Cancilleria, obviously the government of Costa Rica, and ICA for convening and for hosting us here and globally. Space technology provides unparalleled insights into the intricate dynamics of Earth water resources, allowing us to overcome limitations and develop efficient, effective solutions. And I know what you'll hear in the next few days: satellite-based remote sensing, geospatial data analysis, space technology can all play a pivotal role. It's a powerful tool that enables us to monitor, predict, and shape the future of water management. Recognizing its importance and overcoming the complexities and barriers requires unwavering dedication and ingenuity. The upcoming Global Summit for the Future, which will be hosted by the United Nations in September, will also provide a global platform for dialogue and collaboration. It will be a perfect time to push the boundaries of knowledge, collaboration, and innovation. And as the Space4Water Project objective, build bridges for knowledge exchange. If we can identify the most suitable technologies for our needs, establish effective working groups through interinstitutional alliances, and propose pilot projects to develop the capabilities and facilitate technological transfer. This will accelerate the implementation of solutions towards a sustainable, resilient, and water-secure future for generations to come. And let me conclude by saying that the UN, both globally, but also here in Costa Rica, and acknowledging the presence of many of my UN colleagues, we have UNDP, WMO, World Meteorological Organization, UNESCO, obviously, UNDP, did I mention? Yes. UNEP, sorry, are all present and will be joining you for the next few days, because what we want to make sure out of this event, and we also spoke this morning, is beyond the days that you'll be sitting here together, we can also move to concrete action, in our case, for Costa Rica. So let's work together to develop a synergistic plan that seamlessly integrates space technology and water management into concrete solutions for our daily challenges. Thank you for attention, and I hope you can make the most of this event and really network and knowledge share. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bayoki. To conclude this high-level segment, I would like to give the word to the Ambassador Alejandro Solano, Minister ad Interim of Foreign Affairs and Worship of Costa Rica.
Good morning, all of you, esteemed guests. Welcome to Costa Rica, virtually in person. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Worship, on behalf of the government of Costa Rica, would like first to thank its partners and strategic allies in the successful organization of this 6th International Conference on the Use of Space Technology for Water Management. I wish to begin this by acknowledging the outstanding role of the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNOSA. We are pleased to have the presence of Senior Advisor Dr. Driss El Haddadi. Dr. El Haddadi, it's a pleasure for our country to host this conference, and we hope that our cooperation agenda will continue to grow and strengthen, as well as with the rest of UN agencies in the country, represented by the resident coordinator, Mrs. Alegra Bayoki. Also, this conference will not be possible without the support of the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water, who has financially contributed to a Space4Water conference series. From our ministry, we would like to acknowledge the commitment, technical, and logistical support of the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture, ICA. Therefore, I extend my gratitude to Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General, for being a strategic ally and close friend of Costa Rica on these topics, and for hosting this event over the next few days at ICA's facilities. Finally, I would like to thank Vice Minister of Agriculture, Fernando Vargas, who is seated here in the front, for your constant engagement, as well as other authorities of the national institutions that are presented in this opening ceremony. Improving water resource management in line with Sustainable Development Goal 6 to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. It's a goal that starts with a fundamental right at the local level, as it recognizes in the Costa Rican Constitution, and extend universally as a basic condition for development, demanding urgent attention and political commitment at all levels. This commitment must be accompanied by the use of all available technologies for the current protection, regulation, and management of water resources. In this sense, space applications has a fundamental role to play as one of the strategic tools in the effective fulfillment of this goal. Looking at the agenda of the coming days, we cannot neglect that we have before us enormous challenges and pending tasks. Since the pandemic years, it has been demonstrated that provision of safe and affordable drinking water, adequate and equitable sanitation, and hygiene must be a common concern and an essential determinant in global efforts to strengthen and achieve universal health coverage. We also recognize the threats to public health from waterborne diseases, pollution, and health consequences of water-related disasters remain imminent, highlighting the interdependence between ecosystem health and human health. These threats must be addressed holistically, recalling that the human right to safe drinking water and sanitation derive from the right to an adequate standard of living and are intrinsically linked to the right of enjoy the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health, as well as the right of life and human dignity. Our country has 589,000 square kilometers of marine surface. We use natural rivers as borders with our neighbors, and we have coasts that reach the Caribbean Sea on one side and the Pacific Sea at the other. Hence, Costa Rica has an essential commitment and historical connection with water. This has encouraged us to reach a series of milestones around conservation, constituted by comprehensive regulation, strong environmental institutions, and technical tools for its protection promoted during the last 30 years. These instruments and intersectoral efforts, in which civil society has played a decisive role, has allowed us to achieve a coverage of 97.9% of our population with supply of water for human use. However, we are still pressing demands and emerging challenges. Thus, Costa Rica aspires to increase the use of science and space applications for management and scientific research related to water. It will allow to combat persistent and unsustainable patterns in the use of land and natural resources effectively, such as poor waste management that cause pollution of water bodies, the pressure of urban growth, intensive production practices, or high water consumption, as well as other agendas that contradict conservation efforts, including financial constraints for the defense and preservation of the environment. However, solutions to those problems must be considered in incorporating of the human rights perspective in convergence with top-of-the-edge technologies. From our approach, states are accountable to ensuring that access to safe drinking water and sanitation is respected. This co-responsibility also extends to guarantee that development agencies, public and private services providers, donors, and financial institutions fulfill their role to protect individuals and community against infringements of their rights and freedoms. Water is one of the fundamental preconditions for sustainable development, poverty eradication, and hunger eradication. My country recognizes that water, ecosystem, energy, food security, and nutrition are interrelated, and it's indispensable for health, well-being, and human development, including the empowerment of women whom dedicated more time and face risk conditions to provide the vital liquid to their families. Water is also key to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and other important social, environmental, and economic objectives. The generation of satellite data and other tools produced through space navigation support decision-making based on scientific accuracy, which is a management model that we must always bet on. Costa Rica is ready to support the discussion of this matter in a permanent way through multilateral fora, where it plans to provide the protection of water resources with the highest possible political visibility and cooperation. We have long integrated water concern into our foreign policy. For instance, our country celebrated the declaration of the International Water Decade 2018-2028 and its action plan. Already in 2023, during the United Nations Water Conference in New York, Costa Rica stressed the urgency on investing in substantive improvement in the governance of water management with the participation of all responsible parties, including local communities. We have reiterated our recognition of this resource as a global public good indispensable for peace and intergenerational justice. Through multilateralism, we have strengthened our commitment to the ocean and the conservation of marine biodiversity within the framework of the 30-30 goal, promoted by the government as part of the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, led by Costa Rica, France, and United Kingdom. Consistent with our tradition, the protection and conservation of the environment, we are organizing and are prepared for host the high-level event on ocean action immersed in change to be held next June in our country, in preparation for the third United Nations Ocean Conference in Nice in 2025, which Costa Rica is hosting. We are convinced that during your stay in our country, we will be able to demonstrate how projects using space applications are able to improve successfully informed decision-making and policies. We urge all experts and participants to promote the active exchange of knowledge among government authorities, technicians, and academics, the private sector, and civil society, through the various technical presentations, panels, and discussion schedule, as well as taking advantage of opportunities for a strategic alliance beyond this event. For our region, we hope this conference will be a very rich space to exchange and co-create solutions to pressing water challenges and to strengthen our human, institutional, and knowledge capabilities in relevant topics for Latin America and the Caribbean. Allow me to reaffirm that Costa Rica, at the international level, believe in addressing water issues in a cross-cutting manner, as we have proposed in various conferences and fora of the United Nations, including the Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space, to advance in implementation of our Blue Agenda as a strategic guide for Costa Rican water diplomacy. Finally, at national level, we will continue to advance through the innovative incorporation regulatory framework that contain a comprehensive approach for its protection and use of water, aligned with our global environmental contribution and our public policies to guarantee this vital resource for current and future generations. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very successful conference. I wish you all the best.
I would like to thank Ambassador Solano and all high-level authorities that have participated in this inaugural session, and invite all the participants in the room to proceed to the garden downstairs for the group picture. Right after the picture, we invite you to share the coffee break at the lobby and be back at 11 a.m. for the first technical session. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
The conference is now in session. Please be seated. La conferencia ha comenzado. Por favor, ocupe su asiento. The conference is now in session. Please be seated. La conferencia ha comenzado. Por favor, ocupe su asiento.
Yeah, let's do it. It's 20 minutes per participant in the schedule.
Without questions.
The questions can come afterwards. We still have a little bit of time in the end.
Hi, welcome back. The first keynote speaker is Dries El Hadani. Since September 2023, Mr. Dries El Hadani is a senior advisor D1 at the Office for Outer Space Affairs. He provides expert advice, support, research for the activities and programs implemented by the office in the fields of space science and education. Manage the office activities related to the United Nations Affiliate Regional Center for Space Science and Technology Education. Dries brings to this position more than 30 years of experience in the field of remote sensing and space technology application and development. Over his career, he has gained expertise and knowledge of the space sector and at the national and international level, and substantive experience in diplomacy by negotiation with the international cooperation agencies and mechanisms, as well as serving as the first vice president of the United Nations Committee for the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space from June 2000 to June 2004. He served as the director of the Moroccan Royal Center for Remote Sensing from 1998 to 2023. He holds master's degree in physical science, applied remote sensing from Pierre et Marie Curie University in Paris, France, an engineering degree from the Mohammadi School of Engineering, Mohammed University in Rabat, Morocco, and a master's degree in business administration and management from the Higher Institute of Commerce and Business Administration, Morocco, as well as bachelor's degree in law. He is fluent in Arabic, English, and French.
Can I do my presentation from? Good morning, everybody. Once again, welcome to all participants to this conference. And it's my privilege and my honor to deliver this first keynote on the space-based solutions for integrated water management resources. And also it's an opportunity for me to share with you some thoughts and some ideas on the UNUSA actions and programs to foster international cooperation in the use of satellite-based technologies for sustainable development. Slides, please. Well, before maybe go into the details on the role of space technology in the field of water resource management, let us explore the situation of the water resources and mainly the crisis that we are facing through some statistics that give us an overview on this situation. As you know, according to United Nations, by 25, which is today, 25, around 2/3 of our global population may face the repercussions of water stresses, with 1.8 billion people struggling with absolute water scarcity. These figures are not just statistics, but represent a call to action for all of us. Our situation is further compound when we consider the statistics across clean drinking water. The World Health Organization reports that nearly 800 million people are deprived of basic water services, while more than 2 billion are compelled to use water resources that are contaminated with fecal matters, for example. This isn't just environmental issue, it's also a profound health issue. We are also confronted with the immense pressure placed on water resources by agriculture. We have been saying this this morning in this opening remarks, that agriculture is the largest consumer of water resources, accounting for 70% in its global use. This is especially pronounced in developing countries, where these statistics are up to 95%, where these countries are facing a very huge problem. You know that the economic ramification of water scarcity cannot be overstated. The World Bank, for example, warns us that the lack of water exacerbated by climate change could diminish the GDP by 6% in certain regions, precipitation problems like immigration, igniting conflicts, and underpinning development. I think we have some issues with the presentation from time to time. This crisis is triggered by some factors that are impacting the management and the quality and the availability of water resources. The first one, as you know, is the climate change. We are confronted to a reality which is now being a part of our daily life. The climate changes are altering precipitation patterns, increasing temperature, bringing more frequent and severe water-related events such as floods, droughts, etc. The thematics or climatic impacts or climatic change shifts require adaptive management strategies that space, for example, could provide some solution. Overexploitation is one also of the challenges that we are facing. The alarming rates of groundwater extraction is leading to rapidly falling water tables. When coupled with unsustainable agriculture activities and industrial practices, this overexploitation endangers the availability of fresh water for future generations. Also, pollution poses another disastrous threat on our resources, water resources. Industrial wastes, agricultural runoff, urban sewage not only contaminates our rivers and lakes, but also introduce complex chemical pollutant and microplastics that challenge our traditional water treatment methods. Each of these challenges encapsulate the complex web of issues we must navigate in water resource management in this evolving world. Population growth and urbanization is one of the critical issues that we are sitting. As cities are expanding, the demand on water in these growing urban areas intensifies, placing immense strain on already overburdened water supply and sanitation infrastructure. The urban surge calls for innovative solutions for sustainable management of water resources. The other point brings to the core of functionality is infrastructure. Aging or inadequate water infrastructures is a silent crisis leading to significant water losses in many regions. There is market dock facilities capable of efficient water use, treatment, and recycling. And we heard from opening remarks this morning that, for example, Costa Rica is facing water rationalization and electricity water rationalization due to this kind of issues related to infrastructure. Lastly, we navigate the complex field of transboundary water management. Water resources do not adhere to man-made frontiers and borders, resulting in some cases conflicts over shared water resources between regions and countries. This may raise some legal and political challenges in managing the cross-border water bodies and make it more difficult. The other list of issues that are impacting our capabilities and the availability of water resources are linked to the profound impact of ecosystem degradation on water. As you know, the loss of wetlands, for example, and other critical ecosystem that facilitate natural water purification, for example, is a crisis that extends beyond environmental concerns. It strikes the heart of our water resilience. As this ecosystem diminish, so does the rich biodiversity they support, which is crucial for the natural balance of our water systems. Moreover, we are faced with economic and financial constraints that hold back our progress in sustainable water management. Limited funding, for example, often means that essential maintenance and improvements to water infrastructure are sidelined, which can exacerbate existing challenges and also hinder efforts to balance economic growth with sustainable water resource management. Lastly, we struggle with policy and governance issues. So you are aware that inconsistent or inadequate water management policies and lack of integrated approaches undermine our efforts to manage water sustainably. On the other hand, we have also some critical issues related to social and cultural components that influence water resource management. The disparity in access to clean water across different social strata remains a significant challenge. Water, a fundamental human right, is often luxury beyond reach for many, particularly in marginalized communities. Moreover, deep-rooted cultural practices can have profound effects on water usage and conservation, sometimes exacerbating water scarcity issues or hindering sustainable management efforts. On the front of technological evolution or innovation, while we have the vision and the know-how to implement sophisticated methods for water conservation, recycling, and treatment, these advancements are not uniformly distributed. The technological divide leaves many regions, many countries, essentially less developed ones, struggling with outdated systems and methods that are often inefficient and unsustainable to manage water resources. Addressing these social, cultural, technological challenges require a multifaceted approach that respects natural complex and bridge technologies gaps. Through international cooperation, capacity building initiatives, we can ensure that advancements in water management technologies are accessible and adaptable to the needs of global communities. There's a problem with this remote control. Sorry. Okay. So for sustainable water resource management, I think we have at least four elements or four pillars that enable us to achieve this objective, which is integrated water resource management. The first one is data collection and management. As we know that the adage that say you cannot manage what you do not measure is very important and holds particularly true in water resource management. Reliable data on water quality and quantity from backbone of strategic planning, decision-making, crisis management is important. Continuous observation underpinned by space technology provide us with the necessary insights to safeguard and manage these precious resources with the precision it demands. Turning to technology and innovation, as I said, is one important element in water resource management. It's evident that advancement in the fields such as remote sensing, geographic information, satellite communication, positioning systems, as well as automated water management systems have revolutionized our capacity to monitor and manage water more efficiently. Innovations in water purification, for example, recycling, desalination technologies are not simple conveniences. They are essential components in the sustainable management of water resources. The third pillar in this integrated water management approach is education and capacity building. The educating communities, policymakers, water managers about sustainable water practices and the potential of space-based technologies is foundational for self-efficiency. This empowerment enables states, communities, and government to take ownership and manage their water resources effectively, adapting to both challenges and opportunities. Lastly, policy and governance structure our approach and inform our actions. Strong, transparent, and enforceable policies are the framework within which we operate to protect water rights, allocate resources wisely, and manage this risk associated with water scarcity, pollution, and climate change. Sound governance underpins very successful water management strategy, ensuring that sustainable practices are not only planned but also implemented. Okay. Now coming to the role of space technologies in water resource management. You know that the pivotal role of space technologies plays in integrated water management is evident, and the strategic and economic significance of these technologies and their applications is multifaceted, stemming from their ability to communicate, observe, and locate with precision and extent that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. The first space technologies through SATCOMs, for example, enable us to collect, disseminate data and information anywhere, irrespective of the state of ground-based network infrastructure. In the context of integrated water resource management, this capacity means that crucial data on water availability, water quality, water usage can reach decision makers and stakeholders anywhere, anytime, facilitating timely and informed response to water-related challenges. The second element is observation, which is provided by satellites. Observation is where the strength of space technology truly stands out. Satellite allows us to accurately monitor and spot on Earth across a broad spectrum of frequencies, providing a non-intrusive, comprehensive view on our planet water resources. This ability is invaluable in detecting changes over time, for example, from the depletions of aquifers to the decline and flow of glacial melts, enabling us to manage our water resource management with an informed A on sustainability. Lastly, the precise location, which is provided by GNSS systems of space technologies, have revolutionized the way we interact with our environment. By locating fixed or moving objects across the globe, we can track water flow, manage irrigation systems, even guide emergency services during flood events, for example, with increasing level of precision. In sum, the contributions of space technologies to integrated water resource management are transformative, making them indispensable tools in our quest for sustainable water management practices. As it was said this morning in our presentations, for example, this concerning the contribution of space technology to sustainable development goals implementation. Okay. When it comes to the role of space supporting the sustainable development goals, the first one directly linked to water is the goal 6, which seeks to ensure that clean water, safe drinking water, and effective sanitation is available for all. And space technology is contributing to this through a variety of mechanisms, by monitoring water quality, meteorological forecasting, for example, access to information or infrastructures. And this also is related to other development goals that are directly impacted by water resource management, such as goal 2 on food security, goal 3 on public health, and goal 1 on no poverty. It's also impacting the other SDGs, like the third one on the health, the one on poverty, as I said, and no hunger also. I was told by moderator that I didn't get more time, so I was trying to skip some slides just to go to the examples that we are sharing with you on how satellite data can support integrated water resource management. As you can see from the slide, space technology such as satellite imagery, for example, is providing critical data for monitoring water resources on a global, regional, local level. Soil moisture, for example, surface water extent, snowpack levels, for example. All these elements are vital for resource management. Also, satellite data, space technology is providing insight into water cycle dynamics by providing information on soil moisture, for example, effective irrigation, disaster management, also when it's related to water, such as flooding, drought, are supported and using satellite data to support decision makers and policy in implementation when it comes to this issues related to disaster management. A few examples, specific examples, for example, for weather forecasting. As you know, we are relying on satellites on this issue. They are the main element. Data from on atmospheric water vapor, for example, precipitation patterns are provided by a series of satellites, and we have a very large number of programs, such as the GPM constellation, the Meteosat, for example, the other GOES and other satellites that are now providing a very large range of data and range of systems that feed modeling and feed mechanisms that provide weather forecasting for agriculture, for disaster management, etc. Precision farming, for example, which is related to water in some link somehow. And based on satellite data, we are able now in different regions of the world. It started in United States, for example, in Europe, but now also some startups in Africa are providing services on precision farming by providing information to agriculture farmers in different regions. So this is going to the level field through the precise management by monitoring crops, crop health, soil conditions, moisture, for example. And one of the powerful tools, for example, that are used in this issue is the NDVI, which is the Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, which provide very valuable information on the health of vegetation, and then can support farmers and agricultures in providing the right, for example, amount of water, etc. Other examples that are also provided in this slides, the one on the use of satellite data, for example, to monitor drought in different regions. In Africa, for example, many countries are facing drought crisis, drought disaster, and satellite data is one of the powerful tools to monitor this drought by providing data and also by providing early warning systems to inform farmers and government on the pending issues and to improve the capacity of the different kind of actor to be prepared to face this drought and to take actions on the field to improve the quality of the activities that are provided by farmers. Can also have some examples from other regions of the world, coming from India, for example, when they are using this kind of satellite data for efficient water management based on, for example, a system that is developed by ISRO, which is the Puhan satellite platform, which provide critical data for efficient water management in irrigation in intensive regions. This satellite help in planning and managing the canal network and irrigation schedules. Conservation of rice farming also related to the optimization of flight time, which means that we are saving water and we are also improving production. This is based on satellite, radar satellite data that provide information on waterlogged conditions and also support farmers to manage the flooding operations. In this field, I would like to just mention some of the activities that are provided by UN system and by other organizations that support the use and the integration of satellite data, satellite technology in water resource management. UNUSA, for example, program for satellite applications, Space4Water project, which is supporting this conference, UN Spider program. All of this are programs that are managed and run by the UNUSA to support developing countries to develop capacities in using satellite data in access the benefits of satellite data and to have the adequate capacity to use and to implement this data. In this field also we have regional centers in different regions of the world that are affiliated to the UN system and supported by UNUSA. These regional centers are providing education opportunities in the applications of satellite technologies, remote sensing, telecommunication, meteorology, etc. UNESCO is one of the active UN institutions in water management and providing a lot of capacities. We have also the group on Earth observation that is also cooperating with UNOSA on initiative that integrate satellite data and provide access to information, etc. So we have a lot of other mechanisms that are available to foster and to develop cooperation in the field of the use of satellite technology in water resource management. Just a few words. I will not go to details in the slides. Maybe you can have a copy of the slides and have more information on two elements. One is the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, the COPUS, which is the mechanism within the UN system that was established in 1959 to develop cooperation in space applications, to promote space sciences and technologies, and also to provide the legal platform or legal framework for space activities. The COPUS is the main committee, but also we have two subcommittees. The first one is the Scientific and Technical Subcommittee that is dealing with all the scientific, technical aspects related to space applications, and also the legal subcommittee. Each of them has meetings each year in Vienna to discuss these two aspects. And the UNOSA, who is the operational tool or the operational arm of the COPUS, is in charge of the advancing international cooperation through programs that I said earlier on how we can develop capacity, how we can foster cooperation, how we can implement the recommendation of the committee and the resolution of the United Nations when it comes to space application and space legal framework. I will finish my presentation just by recalling what I said this morning in my presentation of the new strategy that was developed by the office, presented to the member states last January. We have 5 priorities or 5 strategic objectives. The first one is space sustainability. We have to ensure that space is safe and sustainable so we can continue and we can make activities in space and services provided by space sustainable, but also to preserve this resource for the future generation. The second priority is climate action. So we are developing activities, access to data, access to information, so we can support countries to integrate satellite information and satellite technology in climate management. SDGs, we have been presenting this many times, and our priority is to support UN system, but also member states to integrate satellite data in achieving the SDGs implementation. Developing countries, this is the core of our activity, and this strategy is aiming to have a specific emphasis on Africa and the needs of this region, but also we would like also to promote and to reinforce the engagement and the cooperation with all the stakeholders involved in space domain through the partnership and cooperation and programs, joint programs with intergovernmental organization, private sector, and civil society. So this is an overview on the office activities, and I will be available to answer any kind of question and provide more details on the programs and the activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dries El Hadani. I want to highlight the importance of the good quality water to achieve the important objective of the 2013 agenda. For the next keynote speaker, we have the Dr. Marcel Garbanzo Salas. Dr. Garbanzo holds a PhD degree in physics from the University of Western Ontario. And works as a professor for the School of Physics at the University of Costa Rica. The main interests of Dr. Garbanzo are remote sensing applications, including radar and satellites, as well as the development of instrumentation with direct applications in industry and academia. Marcial is a co-chair for the Satellite Data Requirement Group in the World Meteorologic Organization, RA34 and collaborates with the VLab office in satellite training around the world. Martial coordinates the climate system observation laboratory dedicated to instrument and service related to meteorological products and their applications. Marshall also acts as a director of the Department of Atmospheric, Oceanic, and Planetary Physics that observes the undergraduate program in meteorological and activity participate in the graduate program in atmospheric science and hydrology.
Gracias. Voy a hacer la charla en inglés, pero si tienen algún comentario o alguna pregunta en español, por supuesto.
I'm going to make my presentation in English, but if you have any comment in Spanish, you can do it.
I'm going to be presenting you kind of the other side of satellite from the WMO perspective. So let's see if this thing gets to work at some point. Okay, let's do it now. So I'm going to be covering three main areas today: the WMO, then the VLab, and then the SDR. In some areas like geo, SDR is usually not heard of, but I'm going to be presenting today what we do, how we do it, and how you can participate of that, which is quite important for satellite utilization. So WMO, I'm not going to spend too much time on the definitions. You can read those or look them up yourself. But WMO provides this framework for international cooperation. And that cooperation actually, once it's done properly, provides you with a lot of data for satellites, a lot of training material, and a lot of capacity that you can learn, understand, and use for yourself. So the United Nations specializes in, the WMO specializes in weather, climate, and water. And I know water is kind of important in this room. It's got a lot of members, but this cooperation and coordination with space agencies, as you're gonna see in a second, it's crucial because in the past, there were space agencies and some users in some places, but now we have connected them. And I think that's gonna be very important for the utilization of these data. So you understand how WMO works. It's divided in regional associations. We are in region 4, which is North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. There's also region 3, but because we are connected to the satellites that we use from NOAA and from other space agencies in the area like INPE and CONAE in Argentina, we basically operate together. So region 3 and region 4 in satellite, we operate together. This is the regional structure. I'm not going to spend too much time on that because it's just the regional structure. My position is actually the lower green square there is the focal point in satellite data requirements. I coordinate satellite-wise everything in region 4. And there is some of the goals. You can read those. I know the presentations are going to be available, so you can read the goals if you're interested in those. But let's move on to the space program. So the space program, it coordinates satellite and space-related activities. But when it says coordinates, you have to remember that only a few agencies around the planet have the ability and capacity to send satellites to space. So if the only users of those satellites are the ones that send them to space, it's very limited, super limited. So this coordination is designed to connect the satellites, the data and the products to the users, the final users. And that's where we, the regions, come into this. So let's give it a minute. There we go. So the space program, there is some keywords. Those 9 squares there, they are the areas in which the space program develops. But there is some very important ones there. For example, the frequency coordination. We rarely think of the frequency allocation for the satellites and the instruments. They do that coordination. So they have to coordinate with, for example, the 5G networks. The 5G networks, everybody likes to watch movies on the phones, so we need more bandwidth for the phones, but that actually collides with the utilization of frequency bands for instrumentation and telecommunications with the satellites. So you have to coordinate those really well. But specifically, I'm going to be presenting in the following slides this access to satellite data and products, this training for those satellites, the regional activities, and if we get some time, probably mention something about calibration. So I have a few QR codes in there in case you want to grab those and look for the websites, because some of them are really important. So there is this website called Oscar Space. Who have ever heard of Oscar Space? Nope. Okay, couple of hands. So Oscar Space is a website, it's a portal from WMO where you can find all satellites, all instruments, all products from the satellites in environmental and meteorology areas. This is super important because if you want to find some data for study or for whatever reason you need it, it's there. So let me just show you an example. So this is the portal. You can go there with the QR code I just showed you, and you can write in there keywords, for example, water, and you can look for satellites that are related to water measurements. And here's an example. If you look for the GPM core that the previous presenter was actually showing in one of its slides, you can look for the GPM core, and you can learn about it. So you can see when it was launched, when it's expected to finish, the end of life of the satellite. So if you're planning to create a product out of this information, this is as far in the future as you will be able to do it, which is crucial for some of the things we do. There is also the frequencies of the instrument and who to contact if you want to know more about it, and even some links to the websites where you can find the information. And I think that's very important for the utilization, because some people, they say, okay, I want to build something with water for this, but what satellites could do it? So they try to go to each of the space agencies' websites, trying to find information. And you know, it's a space agency. They have a lot of information. So navigating it is going to be a pain. So here in this website, you go, you look for the instrument, you look for the satellite, and it's from all space agencies in one place. So it's pretty useful. So VLab. Once you have all this information, all this data and the products, you need to train people on how to use it. So VLab is a global institution, and we have been doing virtual since before it was cool to do virtual. So we started doing that 20 years ago. That's why it's in the name, Virtual Laboratory for Meteorology Utilization. So we have centers of excellence and we have satellite operators. Our centers of excellence are those institutions that are capable of training you in satellite. And the satellite operators, they launch the satellites, but they also create training material that you can use to train people. So here is the list. You can see it's a lot of us. I think the slides, well, it's cut off here in the screen, out over there. So from Australia, there's many other places like Costa Rica. We have one here at the University of Costa Rica. And all these centers of excellence, they have professors, trainers, technicians, and people who actually do satellite things. And you can go there for training, and we can train you. And we usually don't do it by our own. We usually coordinate the trainings. We coordinate heavily with Barbados, Brazil, Argentina, United States, and Europe, because it's the most satellites that we use. But we can also coordinate with China, we can coordinate with India, we can coordinate with other space agencies as well. Okay, so we run a lot of satellite courses, hundreds of satellite courses every year, all over the planet. Yeah, so you can see there is the Kenya one, China, there is one in Costa Rica for newcomers into the area. So at the University of Costa Rica, we have a first and second year meteorology students course for satellites. So they're just learning physics and they're already learning about satellites as well. We don't wait for them to be like advanced to go into this amazing field of satellites. So the regional focus group, have you ever attended one of those? No? Okay, there's the QR code. You can go there, put your email, and then you'll get the announcements of the activities. We have meetings every month, and we look at the perspective of the atmosphere, what's happening, what's going to happen in the future, short range, medium range forecasters, using models, satellites, and others. We are quite a nice group. We get along really well, and it's because we work a lot together. So there is Bernie Connell. Her picture is not there, but she's kind of the engine behind everything. For example, the Americas Regional Focus Group has been running over 20 years. 20 years doing this every month. The Australia one is over 10 years, and there is other regional focus groups in Africa, Oman, Morocco, and other areas as well. Skills and knowledge. Once people go into the field of satellites, they start asking questions like, okay, what should I know? Well, we have that mapped. So there is a skills and knowledge document that you can find in that QR code over there. It's in 6 languages, and it tells you one by one the skills that you need to acquire to effectively work in satellites. So if you need to differentiate coasts from water, mountains from valleys, forests from other areas, it will tell you exactly what you need to know. And this is now for meteorology. We're creating the same for agriculture, hydrology, and some others as well. Finally, in this talk, I'm going to be mentioning the satellite data requirements group. As I said, in the past, satellite space agencies were doing what they do, sending satellites into space, and some users could get the data, and some users could actually utilize it for something. But then we created, and when we said we created, it's the region created the satellite data requirements group. We have a quick guide that explains what we do, so I'm not going to go into full detail of what we do. But in the quick guide, it's information about how we do it, how we connect these final users. And we're talking about final users. And this can be institutions, it can be countries, it can be lone wolves, like people just at home saying, okay, I would like to do this for my location or whatever. And we connect them to the space agencies so they have what they need. If it's data, if it's products, if it's training, we can do that. And I'm going to be showing you an example in a minute. Let's wait for the slides to change. Okay, that one. So this is what happened last year. Mexico got hit by the Hurricane Otis, and they had a problem with some of the information that they needed. So they contacted the group. I'm the co-chair, Diego Souza from INPE in Brazil is the other co-chair. So they contacted us and saying, okay, we need data for this emergency. And there's the timeline there if you want to read it. But it took us about 20 hours, less than 21 hours to go from we have a need of satellite data to we already have the data being utilized. And it was from Mexico, a request to a space agency in Argentina, CONAE. So we help facilitate that. So if you need data, please talk to us. We can help. And we do a lot of things. I'm not going to go into details, but we do with the help of the Costa Rican office, and I see Federico here, so thank you for all your effort. So with the help of the Costa Rican office and the Americas office, we do from politics all the way down to technical stuff. We even have a technical group inside the satellite data requirements group. So if you have a system that is supposed to get Amazon data for whatever you do and it's not working, you contact us and we will put you in touch with them so they can actually help you. And it's very technical. We also run the regional surveys. If you try to help people, you need to know what they need. So in this case, we run the regional surveys. We have a dual approach. We have the formal approach, which is governments talking to governments and others. And we have the informal approach, where we go to individuals and organizations, ask them, what do you need? So with this information, we know the utilization. So here's the areas of application. And you can see there is a lot of information there. It takes a long time to analyze these surveys because you can ask them, why are you using this product? How are you using this product? Do you need more training in this? Do you need basic or advanced training in this? And that's actually the next slide, I think. Yeah, that's the training needed. As you can see, there is utilization in many areas there. It can be satellite data processing. If you have problems there, okay, we can train you in that. Or we can point you to the right direction to who can train you in that. Hydrology, water modeling, utilizing satellite data. We have many trainings that we can actually share. And I think in order to give some room for questions, I'm going to end there. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Garbanzo. Now the next keynote speaker is Leonardo Cascante. He is the coordinator of the Water Department Development Department of the Ministry of Environment and Energy of Costa Rica. He is an agriculture engineer and has a master's degree in project management. Mr. Cascante has worked for 13 years in the development of projects related to water management.
Buenos días, mucho gusto. Saludo a las personas
Morning,
en el panel, a las personas que están de manera presencial
and those who are in the room and virtual. From the point of view of the Ministry of Water and Environment, we are going to have three items of a presentation: regulatory framework, how we are as a country, and the relationship they could have with generation information.
Tenemos que hacerlo pausado entonces, porque hace consecutivo. Al paso, sí. Nadie me va a escuchar a mí. Estoy. Okay. Okay, so we're going to retake the session. I was telling you that from the point of view of the Ministry of Environment and Energy, we are going to develop three topics: the regulatory framework, the generation of information, and the steps to follow and the challenges that we have ahead of us. With regard to the regulatory framework, it is ordered in the scope. It has to do with, in general, the country has a law for water that is dated from 1942, and it is the one that gives the legal framework to the country for the management of the hydro resource. As you can see, it is a law that is more than 70 years old, and it could be that it has some limitations, mainly in the challenges that we are facing to this day. The second element would be the economic side. The country has two instruments that are the ones that allow us to make the assignment for the allocation of and the use of water, and that regulate the quality of the water, the residue water. It is an instrument that is technical, but it has a component that is economic also, which is the one that generates resources for the protection and for the management of the hydro resource. The first one is the canon for the residue water. It establishes the parameters and the limits under which the water can be spilled once it is treated. The second would be the canon for the use of the water, which establishes the use of the water. For example, human consumption, tourism, livestock, and also irrigation. To the right, we have the technical aspects. These are instruments that have a technical legal relationship and that regulate topics that are very specific. For example, the drilling in the subsoil. This is something that is very important because At the country level, one of the main sources of water that we have is the underground water. And the regulation of the drilling of that water is what allows for an adequate use of the hydro resource. This regulation that regulates the drilling of the water has been updated, taking into consideration the current demands. For example, the monitoring, the generation of information or data, and how that information is made available for the institutions and for the people. And regarding surface waters, we have the regulation associated to the flow. What it establishes is the amount of water that should be spilled, that should flow in a certain basin to ensure the conditions, the minimum conditions for the ecosystems, keeping a balance between the use and the ecosystems. The third element, very punctual element, has to do with the classification of the quality of the water beds. The country has 2 index for that, to classify the quality of the water beds. One index takes into consideration physical chemical elements of the water, and the second index takes into account the biological aspects of the water. Each one of them establishes the quality of the waterbed, and based on that, the relevance of the monitoring and the results that we have obtained as a country. The fourth element has to do with the coordination, the forums for the coordination. And here we have an interinstitutional element of coordination that takes into consideration the water directory, the Waterworks and Sewage Company, the SENARA, the National Institute for Statistics and Census, and other stakeholders that have participation in the management of the hydro resource. In these coordination spaces, we also have the forums for citizens' participation. That has been an element that is very important for collecting and identifying the requirements that the people have in the different productive activities. And finally, the local management that has allowed us to bring down the level of attention to topics related to such as basins and waterbeds. These elements are included within the hydro policy and with the National Plan for Management. Currently, these 2 elements are under construction to be updated. With regard to the generation of data, in the operation of the directory, we have associated information that is being generated. For example, there are a couple of coordinates, geographic coordinates, that allow us to locate where the extraction for the water is located and how much water is being extracted from the waterbeds. In that map, we have information regarding the extraction of the water corresponding to the year 2020. And we can also observe that there are areas that are evidently with a higher level of extraction that are associated to the generation of hydroelectric power. Taking into consideration the couple of coordinates, geographic coordinates, in this map we can see the location of the water it takes. And through a geographic viewer, the people can click on one of the dots that we have there and obtain information of the use and the flow that is being used in each one of those specific spots. A series of maps similar to this one are generated for the quality of the water, for drainages, and for models of digital elevation. Also, the country has advanced in the implementation of remote sensors to determine the movement of the water on the ground in the wells of extraction. We have information in some of the wells since 2003, and this has allowed us to identify the variations of these levels throughout the months and throughout the years. Currently, we have 87 extraction stations or extraction wells that provide information in real time through the cell signaling. Another one of the advancements that we have generated as a country is through the teledetection with an alliance that was generated with the support of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Geological Service of the Survey of the USA, using the WAPIX technology. Maps have been put together for the potential of aquifers, taking into consideration different depths. For example, what is the potential of the aquifers from 0 to 30 meters of depth? From 30 to 150 meters of depth, and greater than 150 meters of depth. This is very important information for the country for the management of underground waters. In the matter related to quality of the water, the country has 135 sites for monitoring. This is a manual network. What it implies is that we have to go to the field to collect the data and later analyze it at the lab. The information that is generated or shown there corresponds to the Central Pacific, and it shows the two indexes that I have mentioned in the beginning: the physical, chemical, and the biological indexes. According to the color, we determine the quality of the waterbed. This corresponds to an alliance between the institution with the academia, and it has allowed us to establish a baseline regarding the quality of the waterbeds. And to wrap up, steps to follow, it is very important to question ourselves if the legal framework contemplates this generation and dissemination of the information. It might be necessary to do an update, not only regarding the law for the water, but also for the elements of the planning. The integration of the efforts that are carried out by the institutions. In the map, what we represent is 5 intentions for the generation of basin management plans, which is a very important base for the country. We have to take into consideration the particular aspects of each one of the basins, but also at the institutional level, we have to look at a structure that is basic so that these plans might keep some sort of relationship. Here we have also worked with some other institutions and the academia, and we have had the support of the CATIE and other institutions and professionals that have added themselves up to this effort. And finally, the use and the application of the information, because we have made a very big effort as a country, but we have a very big challenge ahead of us at the moment of decision making and the implementation of actions to be able to recover the quality of the waterbeds and to make a better management of the hydro resource in Costa Rica. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Now we have Anina Kickinger. She has a master's degree in media informatics from the Vienna University of Technology and in advanced international studies from the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna. She has over 20 years of experience in software engineering. Her research interests have been focused on participatory design process and facilitating interdisciplinary knowledge creation and exchange. She has been working for international intergovernmental organizations since 2011. At UNOSA, she is responsible for the Space4Water project that she will introduce right now.
Thank you very much for coming here and also for all the online participants that we have. We have participants from 84 countries. We have not addressed them. And to keep the expressions of gratitude a bit short for the sake of time, I'll just extend that to all of you, your contributions, your efforts, your travels. But I would like to mention people who've not been mentioned today, which are the admins and the interns who've also contributed significantly. There's some people who we don't see who've contributed to this event that I would like to especially thank. Many of you know me already and we've been in touch. So I'll move straight into, can you put up my slides, please? Yeah. Why Space4Water? We've heard some of the drastic developments related to water and some drastic statistics. 40% of the world population are affected by water scarcity. 2/3 severely for at least a month per year. 2 billion people live in countries with inadequate water supply, and almost 9 million were displaced due to disasters in 2022, with 90% of the effects of all disasters being water-related. By 2025, half of the world's population could be in water-scarce areas. By 2030, 700 million could be displaced by intense water scarcity. By 2040, about 1 in 4 children will live under extremely high water stress. And yet 80% of wastewater is discharged untreated into the environment. Our aquatic ecosystems deteriorate, and this list could go on for a long time. Can you please go to the third slide? Next slide, please. Oh, here's my pointer, sorry. Sorry for that. Water connects so many of the SDGs, and we need to address the water agenda, which is alarmingly off track to be able to achieve many of these other SDGs. Space technologies and applications can help monitor more relevant water variables for the reporting of the SDGs than they're currently used for. And improving how we use water globally will contribute to changing climate change action, life below water, life on land. It's no surprise that water scarcity affects the water, energy, food nexus, but also our health, poverty, gender equality, and education. To achieve water security, we need to actively collaborate. And that's what we try to foster with this project. Space-based solutions for water can be grouped in 3 to 4 overall groups. One of them is Earth observation and remote sensing data. Others are spin and navigation. Sorry, this is... So this slide gives you a brief overview of space-based monitoring. In some cases, this could be used for SDG monitoring, not in all cases. It is used in some. And we see that we can monitor changes in groundwater. We can monitor water quality to a certain extent indirectly. We monitor surface water extent, extreme weather events, surface water temperature, rising sea levels. We can look at oil spills and how they spread across the oceans. We can monitor vegetation health, soil moisture, and this is just to name a few. You will learn a lot more about this throughout the technical sessions of this conference. This graphic shows you this water cycle graphic that was developed by the US Geological Survey and published in 2022. And for the first time, and this is surprising, the human was integrated and included into this model that we know from our physics class that only contained like the transitions of the different states of water before. But the human element is critical when we think of our impact on runoff, reservoirs, agricultural water use, urban runoff, stream flow to the ocean. We need to consider the human element in the water cycle. And so this is why I put this up to be considered. At a glance, Space4Water fosters interdisciplinary knowledge exchange and the co-design of space-based solutions to address water challenges from source to sea. We build capacities in the use of space technologies to monitor water. You already heard today that this project is supported by the Prince Sultan bin Abdulaziz International Prize for Water, and an agreement was signed in 2016 originally. Since then, we've worked hard. In 2018, we launched a portal. 2020, we had a new agreement that goes until 2026 that allowed us to, for the first time, build a community of practice apart from the portal that publishes information. And this community of practice was critical in developing solutions, as you'll see later. Last year, we hosted 2 stakeholder meetings. And in 2024, we organized this conference. Today, we have 104 stakeholders, including many important space agencies, water agencies, and other actors working with water data who share experiences on the use of space technology for water. We'll also launch a webinar series in September that should allow us to stay in touch on a more regular basis, and that will cover lectures, trainings, and so on. We'll also have a Space4Water stakeholder meeting. You'll learn more about that in a bit. The good news is we have a long-term perspective for the project that so far was able to bring together over 600 people from over 140 countries at the past 5 conferences. And we have a web portal with over 1,000 knowledge resources. We publish interviews with professionals and young professionals monthly. And we have also Space4Water portal allows actors to share information on the projects they implement using space-based data and technology. these sometimes seemingly complex technologies understandable. So we work on relating the knowledge from scientists to the general public. We publish an article monthly that you can see by looking at the scanning the QR code, you will get to the articles page. We also have these monthly interviews. And if you're interested in being interviewed, then you can scan the QR code on the right side. What is new is that we made a big effort to translate articles to Spanish and to French. Spanish was especially done for the sake of this conference and the community that will gather here, so they can access the information in Spanish as well. We also research training materials of partner institutions that we know. We publish information on events, conferences, trainings that are going on that you can participate. We have an integration with the NextGeo's dataset search, encouraging the use of standards. Instead of replicating the efforts, we point you there, and we develop a glossary of space terms, apart from collecting local perspectives and case studies to link the international institutional level also back to the ground where people are affected by water incidents. Latest portal updates include that we have a search for collaborators, so people, actors can search for other stakeholders working in similar thematic fields on a local, national, regional, or international level in specific regions and so on. And we've been working heavily on the water-related challenges and space-based solutions. You will learn a bit more about that soon. The user base is constantly growing, and we have about 80,000 users per year. That was in 2023. On the left side, the QR code gets you to the Spanish translations of the articles. So this is just some statistics. I will skip quickly. Here we have some feedback from stakeholder meetings on their favorite knowledge resources. Surprisingly, it was opportunities and calls and announcements that the stakeholders wanted to know most about. They consider the software, web apps, APIs information as very critical. There is meta information on these. That's just an overview, and we take the feedback from the diverse user groups and actors into account. So this is from our stakeholders. Our users on the portal will have a different view. The Space4Water community today counts 104 stakeholders, 20 professionals, 26 young professionals, and 7 indigenous voices that we worked with. Here you see an overview of where they're located at. At stakeholder meetings, we foster interdisciplinary, multi-stakeholder knowledge exchange from the local to the global level. We work to co-design and develop space-based solutions. We meet once or twice a year, online and in person. And what you see here was a photo taken at a participatory workshop for Indigenous women on their roles and responsibilities related to water, where we had a mutual learning about how these communities relate to water, to space, to technology, and water-related changes they observe. And what was very important to me was to learn about their relation to technology and space as well, because we don't want to push solutions to them. I initiated that to learn from them, from the observations they made, and then try to help them to formulate water-related challenges based on the changes they observe in the environment. And we took that and put them on the portal. You can see them. You can also submit a water challenge that you have observed and would like to get addressed by the use of space-based data and technology here. And here I give you some examples. This was submitted by one of the professionals featured on the portal. And it is on Pakistan, who's faced with droughts and floods over the same region. He's describing this challenge. He brought it to the stakeholder meeting, and he has drafted a model that we're now working on developing in open source with other actors in the community. This is another challenge faced by the Maori tribe in New Zealand on river pollution and lacking historic knowledge on river course and vegetation. And you see somebody in the room who's actually contributed to addressing this issue. And this community got really active. They were so inspired by the knowledge that was shared during the stakeholder meetings that they felt empowered to start water sampling by themselves. That was without our help in the end. They worked with local authorities to get that going, and they could see maps that they shared with their elders. They gathered the whole community to look at the historic maps of the vegetation, and that was very important to them. And the solutions on how to create such data sets are on the portal, and we continue working with them. It's not, it doesn't end at the point where we have addressed some. We stay in touch with them to see how we can support them. That's another tribe in Kenya who's been faced with severe water scarcity, and they walk 20 kilometers to access water. And we actually outlined 3 solutions with the community that we're still working on. We're bringing in the Kenya Space Agency and local actors to address it. And there is still a lot of work to be done on the ground, but we have managed to develop maps for them. And the next step is for the creation of sand dams and rainwater harvesting to get some in situ data in the field that Kenya Space Agency was friendly enough to suggest to help collect for us. Here is the solution that I mentioned before, where we now work with another young professional from a university in another African country who's willing to implement the model that was suggested by the Pakistani professional, so we can make this accessible to everyone in open source. It's a very complex model with several components, and once it's done, we'll share it with all of you. Outlook that I want to give you is that we'll focus more and more on community building and capacity building with the webinar series that will take place once per 3 months. It will be a 1-hour format where lectures, trainings, and panel discussions can take place. And that is to, on the one hand, have the continuity and regularly meet. On the other hand, allow for the stakeholder meetings to be very interactive, where we really can host hands-on sessions and strengthen the community and the knowledge exchange. Yeah, we also develop a vision for the future because we have a longer-term sustainability for the project, and we develop that vision starting to think about operational plans where we consider organizing technical advisory missions in countries on the use of space technologies to help countries to address their water issues. That's more of a longer term work that is more in depth with the countries, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So that will be coming up next, and we also look into expanding our resources so we can support the various actors and countries better. Space4Water project also aligns with the Water Action Decade, the Global Acceleration Framework, and the UN system-wide strategy for water that is currently being developed. So we look into how we can align our efforts to deliver as one as the UN and not replicate any efforts. And here you see some of the stakeholders that are actually in the room with us or participating in this event. And in case you also want to become part of the community, you can scan the QR code, but you also have that in the brochures. And I don't want to keep you from your lunch. So some brief announcements. The next stakeholder meeting, the 4th Space4Water stakeholder meeting, will take place 23 to 24 October. This time it's online, and we'll focus on hands-on interaction to address water challenges. The registration form will be at the QR code, and it will open very soon. So for the conference series, I mean, this is where you're at. We've organized it every 3 years. We're thinking about new formats where we organize it on a more regional level to take into account regional needs, also reduce emissions, and On Friday, I'll circulate a feedback form where you can let us know how you think we can make this conference better. Thank you so much. And before we go to have our lunch, it wants us to go for lunch. Some logistics information for the conference. This is the QR code showing, getting you to the conference website. I hope every one of you knows it by now, but in case you need information on the conference, and we update the schedule there to get that. But what I want to tell you is, if you have any questions and you haven't had a chance to post them, such as in this session, because we're at the end, we created a form where you can post the questions that you didn't have a chance during the session to ask, and we collect them. Some of them will be addressed in the technical closing when we have a discussion, but if it's not been addressed, we'll forward your questions to the speakers. So if you have a question for one of the lightning talk speakers who are not with us, most of them are remote, please email isabelcetina@un.org. If you cannot connect to Zoom and you're an online speaker or participant, please email James Zibacha, consultor@ica.int. If you cannot upload your slides, check out the email addresses here. We'll help you. And with that said, one last point. So we would like to evaluate our project and learn about your user needs towards the Space4Water project to optimize the project's objective for the next period. And to that end, my colleague Anne-Claire, who you see here in the back, will organize 2 focus groups on Wednesday and Friday during the lightning talk sessions. Some of you already agreed to participate. If you're interested in that, please approach Anne-Claire. Thank you so much. And enjoy your first lunch here.
Thank you all for this very interesting information. We have time for one question. So I like to give the floor now to the audience if anyone have a question. We have a question online, okay.
So for Mr. El Hadani, we have one question from the virtual audience. What are the water parameters that can be measured remotely by satellites?
So as I said in my presentation, there is a lot of parameters that could be measured using satellite data. For example, we can measure the soil moisture, for example, using SAR data, rather satellite data. This is one of the most important parameters that could support the development of irrigation. Satellite data is also used to measure, for example, through models, the evapotranspiration, which is important in the water cycle, for example. It's important also in the optimization of irrigation. We can also use satellite data to monitor dams, for example, the quantity of water in dams. Meteorological information is important from satellite, meteorological satellite to measure and to model precipitation, for example, which is important. The other parameters that are linked to water in a manner or another, for example, the drought impact, which is a combination of information from precipitation, from temperature, which is measured from satellite, and also vegetation health using the index vegetation, for example. So there's a lot of parameters that could be measured using the satellite data. And also indirectly, for example, satellite data could be used to support location of the most probabilistic places for water drilling, for example, combining parameters on geological features, on humidity, soil humidity, and also vegetation, though can have different parameters combined to select areas that have a high potential for groundwater presence and support access to clean water in different areas, mainly in remote and desertic areas. So there is a lot of parameters that could be measured from satellite data, from precipitation to the quality of water, temperature of water. Satellite data could also help to measure the flow, the melting of glaciers, and as I said, there is a multitude of parameters that could be measured from satellites.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much to stay in this technical opening session. We invite you to stay with us and watch the lightning talks in the next few minutes. We will touch up on very interesting topics. Thank you very much and have a nice lunch.
I confused you. I apologize. We had to swap that. So now it's the lightning talks.
A panoramic view of the legal issues of space technology in African agriculture sector. I'm Judith Murunji from the Young African Policy Research Hub. The use of state-of-the-art spatial technology and data has the potential to increase agricultural production in Africa. Those technologies are beneficial in terms of climate change monitoring, early warning systems, weather forecasting, and disaster management. I will present to you how African countries can address the legal and ethical issues in this area and also draw lessons from the United Kingdom in order to inform the law and policy formulation in Africa in this area. There exist legal and ethical challenges, and this is stemming from the lack of laws and policies to foster the use of space technologies in African agriculture systems. There also exists fragmented legislation and also the absence of laws that pertinently address the use of space technologies in agriculture. Law and policymakers have not fully addressed the issue of access to internet, and this is a bar to boosting production while relying on space technologies in Africa. The use of artificial intelligence plays a vital role. However, with the absence of proper regulation, there will be challenges in terms of privacy, disinformation, and also making it difficult to transfer data across countries, especially in terms of agricultural research. Looking at the United Kingdom, there is a multi-stakeholder engagement and partnership between government, industry, and academia with an aim to work towards having proper regulation in this space. The United Kingdom has also leveraged on international collaboration, which avails access to information and resources from macro to foster the use of space technologies in agriculture. There is the allocation of funds to support links with global space agencies and businesses with an aim to develop space technologies. The United Kingdom has also come up with legislation such as the Space Industry Act 2018, the National Space Strategy, and National Space Policy. These are the recommendations for the African countries. They are encouraged to work towards creating laws and policies that pertinently address the use of space technology in agriculture. This will address the issue of lack of regulation and fragmentation of law. About time, African countries work towards having national space strategies and space technology roadmaps to assist in the use of space technologies in agriculture. African countries are also encouraged to ensure that there is collaboration between government, civil societies, communities, academia, research, technology experts, innovators, legislators, and more to ensure there is a holistic approach towards creating any regulation in space technology in Africa. Lastly, it is important to address the extraneous factors affecting the use of space technology, and these include the access to the internet, and to also ensure that there is capacity building in order to help the agriculturalists understand how to use space technologies. African governments need to ensure that the cost of access to this internet and infrastructure required for the use of space technology in agriculture is addressed in order to foster its use in the continent. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Orotanyo Patrick, alumni of the Pan-African University Institute of Powers. It's a big pleasure for me to be associate of the 6th United Nations Conference on Space Technology for Water Management, where I'm going to present you integrating GIS for water food climate nexus assessment, a case study of the Upper Bandama sub-watershed in Ivory Coast. In introduction, you have to notice that Ivory Coast is essentially an agricultural nation. And according to the National Development Plan, agricultural sector represents more than 90% of the national GDP and employs 65% of the active population. To that, 65% of water needs for agriculture, 23% for industry, and 12% for the communities. That being 39 billion cubic meter of surface water for agricultural irrigation is to ensure the food security according to the Ministry of Water and Forest. Because of that, water resources have experienced increased scarcity in the recent decades. And this situation is projected to be worse by 2100 with a prediction of stable precipitation and an increasing temperature to 3 degrees Celsius, especially in the northern part of the country. So about 4% of the Ivorian population is in a situation of food insecurity, according to the World Food Programme in Ivory Coast. This combined action of climate variability, demographic growth, and rapid urbanization and agricultural expansion is evaluated to exert a strong pressure on the long term or to the viability of water resources. That's why you ask this question: how can GIS, as a tool, analytic tool, can be used to evaluate the water food climate nexus in the Upper Bandaman watershed? And how can those results help to develop strategies for sustainable natural resource management in the Upper Bandaman watershed? The objective of this study is to harness the power of geography and economic system to evaluate the water food climate nexus in the Upper Bandaman watershed and utilize the findings to formulate strategies for sustainable natural resource. In the methodology, we use Landsat satellite images of 1990, 2005, and 2020 to assess the spatial-temporal dynamic of land use and land cover. Then we use agricultural yields and agricultural production for the analysis of food security. And to finish, we use also the annual and seasonal analysis of temperature and rainfall for Nicholson and Angot tests have been used for the climate analysis. All those data have been integrated in the GIS for spatial analysis, for requests, and for some geostatistic processing. As a result, we found that general and rapid transformation of different environmental components between 1990 and 2020. We noticed also unexplained agricultural activities confirmed by the FAO study. So, the annual precipitation between 2008 and 2020 is increasing. And NERE characterized that by seasonal and internal climate instability, as Soro and Yo study mentioned in the study. We can also notice a decreasing of yields, both of cash crops and subsidized crops, show that more surface are consumed for fuel production. That characterizes an expression of the agriculture. And to finish, we use the principal component analysis to apply to water, to food, and climate parameters. Those results show that a strong correlation between precipitation, temperature, and humidity influencing the agricultural production. To conclude, this study examined the critical connection among water management, food security, and climate change in the Upper Bandaman Basin, underscoring the importance for regional sustainability. It identifies significant variability in water resource in the impact of crop concentration on surface water in the region, alongside a notable decrease in the rainfall over the past decade, coinciding with demographic growth and increasing agricultural production. Then, we racially emphasize the vital link between food security and climate, advocating for the development of adaptive strategies that include the participation of all stakeholders due to the challenges posed by limited data. In recommendation, we are made for achieving sustainable agricultural yields through adaptive strategies and the development of collaborative policies aiming for a prosperous and sustainable future in the region. Here, in this slide, we have some recommendations that we did. And those recommendations is around the recovery hills, institutional collaboration, and climate change adaptation. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm available for any recommendation and collaboration. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anika Maniram, and my topic is the impacts of drought on the rural communities of Msinga in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. Drought is a period of below average precipitation which results in drier than normal conditions. The changing climate of recent years will lead to an increase in the frequency, severity, and pervasiveness of drought. There are 4 different kinds of droughts, which are permanent, seasonal, unpredictable, and invisible. And the different categories are meteorological, hydrological, agricultural, and socioeconomic. According to the World Health Organization, 1.5 million people have been directly impacted by drought this century, whilst every year an estimated 55 million people are affected each year. The objectives for the study is to assess the perceptions regarding the socioeconomic impacts of drought, to investigate the adaptation and mitigation strategies that rural communities of Msinga adopt during periods of drought, and to examine the perceived seriousness and frequency of droughts. This study is also significant as it provides an insight into the impacts of drought within the rural communities of Msinga. Drought has subjected the Msinga region to high rates of soil erosion, low carrying capacity, and water shortages. Droughts occur at a slow rate that makes it difficult to quantify and detect, thus resulting in socio-economic and environmental impacts. GIS helps disaster managers assess drought impacts via hazard mapping, vulnerability analysis, damage assessment, and recovery planning. Results and discussion. Figure 1 shows the frequency of droughts over the last 10 years. Since the 1970s, there has been a drying trend around the world with an increase in drought frequency as a result of climate change. It is also noticed that the frequency of drought has increased from every 10 years to every 5 years, with Msinga's frequency increasing in intervals of 2 years. Figure 2 shows the severity of drought within Msinga, and this was measured by small-scale farmers through seasonal farm employment, loss of livestock, increase in diseases, and threatened livelihoods and mass migration. The seriousness of drought is also measured by how people perceive it and how they are affected by it. Figure 3 shows the socioeconomic impacts of drought, which were integrated, analyzed, and visualized using GIS. Drought affects the failure of crops since majority of South Africa is rain-fed. Increased levels of poverty and unemployment as a result of drought and poor productivity affects Msinga to the loss of livelihoods. Drought, food shortages, and increased food prices have resulted in limited food choices and food insecurity. Decreased water supplies and droughts have also increased malnutrition levels. And Figure 4 shows the adaptive strategies for drought, which include selling of livestock, rural-urban migration, cutting down of food intake, planting drought-resistant crops, and indigenous knowledge practices. A result from this table shows if the community has received agricultural training in the last 3 years. So it is important for subsistence farmers and rural communities to receive agricultural training as they often live in environments that are dominated by unpredictable weather, pests and diseases, fluctuating prices, and lack of education and food insecurity. Did they receive assistance from the government during times of drought? So in order to address the issues of drought in South African agricultural industry, the government has over the past decade implemented several drought relief programs as part of a national effort to support affected farmers. However, the Msinga municipality has received very little resources. Are there any active drought management programs in the community? The drought management programs that were implemented in Msinga were developed by NGOs and not the government. It is discovered that there was poor management from the government to deal with the drought and its impacts. Did they receive any drought early warning systems? It is established that reliable and timely early warning systems is a critical component of drought planning as it supports the farmers' decision making. In conclusion, we looked at the theoretical frameworks which included the drought perception theory. This included the drought experience, drought definition, drought expectation, and drought memory. Also looked at the sustainable livelihoods approach, which states that poor individuals have the important skills, knowledge, and ability to create a livelihoods approach to alleviate poverty. The recommendations for the study was women empowerment, environmental education, agricultural practices, and governmental involvement. Thank you.
Hello everybody. My presentation on the use of space technology for water resources management in Syria. Many manned and unmanned spacecraft are now roaming space at different altitude, whose mission is to stare deeply around the Earth, discover its hidden resources and wealth, and monitor its environment and disaster. Contents, introduction, water resources management in Syria, recommendation. Many countries in the world complain of water problems, especially our region complains of a great water shortage. This problem increases greatly in result of a great increasing of the population, agricultural projects, and investment. That will make additional pressure on water resources. Also, the water storage had begun complaining of pollution problems. Water resources management in Syria, the new technologies of remote sensing, geographic information system, and a global positioning system had a great importance in groundwater exploration, whereas the space images taken by Landsat TM radar images by European Remote Sensing Satellites ERS using geographic information systems and GPS also, previous geological, tectonic, hydrological, and geological studies to study regions contributed as ideal methods of exploration of groundwater in Syria. By processing, analyzing of space images, combining thematic maps of drainage, alignment, and main rainfalls with their intensity and crossing, in addition to map of all drilled wells with their discharge and existing springs in the study of each area, study of wet falls at the end of summer through thermal band in Landsat. Images subsurface faults through radar images across the separated faults with their accurate coordinates by using GPS and carrying out geological sounding or perspective locations and analyzing the results, curves, and contours of existing groundwater with their water data. We had identified many locations of groundwater in Salamia, Suwaida, Daraa, Latakia, Tartus, and Damascus cities. By using this methodology, we had drilled many of wells in the studied respective locations, and we had good results. Exploration of groundwater in southern part of Syria. This study has been carried out in southwest of part of Syria by using remote sensing techniques, Landsat, and spot images in basalt area. We can see space images and lineaments with location of wells and with cross locations we had located the perspective location. Also, we always using geoelectrical methods and then drilling wells, we had good results. Also, thermal survey of the Mediterranean coast of Syria. The survey was aimed to find places of unloaded loading of freshwater springs, undersea water, according to the suspected temperature anomalies at the sea surface. We had thermal survey and had many locations of submarine autoflows with the charge of 500 million cubic meter to 1,000 million cubic meter. Studying the snow cover with snowpack in Syria by studying the snow over the mountains. Also monitoring the pollution in the Syrian lakes, Katina Lake and Asad Lake. We can see the pollution in these dams. Also, water harvesting in Syria by using space technology and also treatment of sewage with covered factory. Measuring the precipitation rainfall by automatic precipitation station and also using tropical rainfall measuring mission satellite TRMMM and Terra and Aqua satellites. Recommendations: integrated water resources management should be further promoted in the region. And thank you much for your attention.
Greetings. My name is Richard or Rick Lawford. I'm a former senior scientist with Morgan State University in Baltimore. I'm going to speak today on Earth observations and the water-food connections in the basin of the Red River of the North. Red River of the North, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a transboundary basin moving water from the Dakotas in the U.S. through Manitoba to Lake Winnipeg. It has flat topography and extensive shallow flooding occurs during the spring as a result, with clay soils that don't readily allow the infiltration of water. It has specific phenomena in the basin that lead to further water coming into the main stem of the red. For example, Devil's Lake, this little area here, has extensive flooding in the spring and summer. And there is extensive use by farmers of the land drainage to get water off the land so they get cultivating earlier as in the spring. Information needed by agriculture includes information on the winter snowpack, which influences how much spring moisture there's going to be when the melt occurs. Also, during the summer, precipitation events can rise quickly and interrupt farm operations, and so the Global Precipitation Mission and its constellation of satellites is used to provide data for iMerge rain maps that farmers can use. Soil moisture is important for the plant growth. These data can be used to determine when to plant and to cultivate, when to irrigate if needed. Available satellite data tend to be rather coarse at 25-kilometer resolution, but they are of some use when you want to find trends, aerial trends. Water resource management involves disaster preparedness. It also involves water quality monitoring and drought potential readiness. In terms of flood potential, it can be monitored by looking at snowpacks, high spring soil moisture, and rain on snow events, and water diversions and local land drainage techniques that are used to overcome this problem. Water quality is monitored through in situ observations and are important because the farm fertilizer applications tend to bring nitrates and phosphates up to Lake Winnipeg. Drought potential has to be monitored as well. Drought begins when evapotranspiration is high and can be monitored quite accurately, and when rainfall is low, so that concepts can be implemented. In order to provide the information needed for the community, we're following a strategy of open science. We have to deal with things like the levels of authority for decision making in basin, which is transboundary, because the levels of authority vary from one basin, part of the basin, to the other. Canada is different than the US. Services provided and information services are not uniform across the basin. The federal government provides certain services in the US that the provincial government provides in Manitoba, Canada. In situ observation density varies. North Dakota has a large mesoscale network, but the same is not true in Minnesota and Manitoba. So we're going to try and take advantage of the new open science policies that are being implemented. NASA is developing data sets that are going to be free and public in the near future. And open science is going to be promoted through the group on Earth observations, and we hope to have Earth products available. So our goal is to provide a information system for the basin based on the experience that has been realized in Spain, where there has been improved profitability and where there's been a lot of irrigation efficiencies derived. As shown here on this table, the technique would use a geo-knowledge hub to provide data into a platform which then would disperse data and indices to farmers, both through registered users and broadcast to the public. So I thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, suggestions, or collaborations to propose, you're all welcome, and contact me at rlawford@gmail.com.
An urban heat island is a phenomenon which occurs after the heat accumulation within urban areas due to urban constructions and urban activities. My first task today is to show how I have identified urban heat island signatures using data from satellites. The next task is to show you why satellites are useful in countries with scarce resources to monitor environmental variables in cities, especially in Latin America. Then I will show you some impacts of heat in tropical cities like Santa Cruz. To begin, last year in 2023, media has put attention on this issue because
We will hear an oral presentation delivered online on this topic. So I've had it here and we can stop. I repeat, we will hear an online presentation on this topic. So I stopped it here and we can have our lunch. Before we all leave the room, I would like to let you know that we arranged you per thematic technical session that you're going to deliver your presentations in as a seating map for this first lunch, so we can get better discussions ongoing and a thematic exchange. That's only for today, and then you're free to sit next to whomever you would like to. As for the panel discussion, because some of these speakers will be presenting in other technical sessions, we will have a lunch scheduled on Thursday with your moderator, Driss El Hadani, on Thursday over lunch. But for all the technical sessions in which presentations are being delivered, please look for the number that indicates the session and sit down there with your colleagues. Enjoy. Thank you.
Question.
Recording stopped.